If you've existed on the internet for decades or even just literal days, as unlikely as the latter is, you've likely, at some point in time, seen this image. An almost picturesque scene of a mother playing a Game Boy surrounded by 4 excited and interested children. This photo tends to elicit a sense of nostalgia to those who grew up in the era, that being the late 80s to anywhere in the 90s. Myself included, that I assure you. This image personally has always reminded me of myself and my mother and the old photos we used to take together in the 90s when I was, a small child. Like this one right here. It's just something about photos from that era without the filters and the synthetic feel of them that just feels so, genuine and real, as simple as that sounds. It's a level of charm that just doesn't exist anymore, in all honesty. Was it perhaps the pastels the family wore? The voluminous hair and blunt bangs? Image quality? The nostalgia linked to playing Nintendo games as a kid, just, in general? I've often seen the Gameboy Mom image described as akin to a Norman Rockwell, or even a Renaissance-era painting. The latter description is often included with the image screenshot itself. Something about it really captures genuine, candid emotion. Over the past decade, like literally it's been at least 10 years, I have seen this image posted on various social media sites. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, and most recently Instagram only a week ago. A couple times a week actually, courtesy of 90s Kid and Nintendo fan accounts I follow. Heck, I would not be surprised if this image was at some point posted to Miiverse. That is how widespread and well-known this image is. So finally, after a decade of reposts, I finally decided to look into the famous Gameboy Mom photo and set the record straight, to truly discover the origin of this image and let everyone else know where it came from. And, well, looks like I have my work cut out for me. So let's start with the basics. All the reposts and image captions. They all vary a little bit but remain somewhat similar. Stuff like, a mom helping her kids beat a hard level in Super Mario Land 1990s. 2. Mom knew how to beat that level. The olden days. 12 reasons gamers make the best parents. This mom showed her kids how it's done. And mom helping me through a hard level the day the Game Boy was released. Oh, and then there's also the posts in other languages, ranging from Russian to Japanese. Someone I assumed to be a massive PewDiePie fan even said the mother looks like Marzia, the wife of PewDiePie, and that the children look like PewDiePie himself. Okay, let's not get too off topic here. Long story short, TLDR, it's very, very easy to become overwhelmed by the many instances and uses of this image being reposted. Between the other languages, varying dates, varying titles despite how kinda similar they all are. I mean, even simple things like if the children are siblings or not really complicates things. Heck, there's even people trying to illegally profit off of this image. And I'm pretty sure it's illegally, judging by the shady Redbubble link I don't think is the actual family's. By the way, please watch till the end of this video for an update regarding this. But yeah, same idea with each caption, but slight differences. And a bit of lack of ethics peppered in there too. So, with all of that said, let's go back to the very beginning. And by very beginning, I mean let's take a look at the image itself for some clues. The very first inconsistencies I noticed were within the year itself. The Game Boy was released on July 31st of 1989 in North America, Super Mario Land being a launch title for the console. Aside from that, we really have no key details to show the exact year. It could be 1989 or somewhere in the 90s. Really, the aesthetic of the photo fits either way. Second, was the game really Super Mario Land? This one is fairly easy to clarify when looking at the cartridge peeking out from the Game Boy itself and the North American art for the Super Mario Land cartridge. It appears to have the blue background and red font. Now, there is one more candidate, that being Tetris, which was also a launch title. The card also has a blue background and reddish-pink font, but the red is a bit more prominent from afar. So, with all of that said, I'm pretty convinced the game in question is in fact Super Mario Land. So, by this point, I had learned everything I could possibly learn by the image itself physically or, with my eyes. My next step, if I truly wanted to find the source of this image, was to go back in time and just find the earliest post. I mean, I personally knew it was at least 10 years old because I remembered seeing it when I was in high school. So that alone was a means to weed out the imposters. The ones that are kind of sus. And this image is by far not the only victim of this kind of treatment. There are so many images out there that we don't know the origin of. I'm sure many of you guys out there could name a few. This was when I really started digging. And with a bit of said digging, it appears I finally found what I was looking for. There it was. Courtesy of an Imgur link and an 11-year-old post from r/gaming. Finally, I had reached what I was looking for. Looking through this original post for the very first time, finally, seeing it with my own eyes, I realized the comments on it over 10 years ago are very similar to comments it receives on the reposts that were made just maybe weeks or years ago. Though, there is one particular comment that did catch my eye. One that's very sweet. See, there was this one Reddit user that was so moved by this image that they carved it into wood and then later on sent it to OP themselves. Here's that actual post and image showing that the OP did receive that wood carving. Because it found its way to OP and OP's mother directly, I find that very touching. Aside from this, I couldn't really find any additional details regarding the story behind this photo. At the point I had reached within this little search of mine, I decided the next option was to contact the original poster directly. The user, known on Reddit as ZozaCloud, was still very much active actually. That famous Gameboy Mom photo being among the earlier posts, as the post itself was made shortly after the account's creation, it seems. What I found as I scrolled through the account itself were fleeting mentions of both gaming and their mother. From what I could gather, she was also very talented with baking cakes, if I do say so myself. I mean, look at this amazing Mario cake! Posted to the same subreddit as the famous family photo. What I had also found on their page was an incredibly touching response to a fairly recent post from only about 3 months ago. It mentions the impact their mother, the very same mother that captivated everyone in the photo with the Game Boy, had on their life as their biggest inspiration. And lastly, I found this. An early post from around the same time as the Gameboy Mom post. The post contains photos of the North American SNES Sega Finals, and it looks like the poster was a contestant within it at quite a young age. But in the end, that's all I found. No direct details or backstory behind that famous image. While I technically found the origin, I remained curious. It felt like there was still such an interesting story to tell. And now I have even more questions than before. I mean, was the mom herself a gamer of such legendary skill that her children could enter mass competitions and dominate the competition at only 4 years old? Was she training professional gamers like Goku trained Super Saiyan? I mean, all I knew how to do at that age was probably just mash the A button in Pokemon. I didn't even know how to read the text yet. Heck, I didn't even learn how to drift in Mario Kart till I was like 11 or 12 years old. I knew what to do next. I sent a brief DM basically stating that I'm a content creator and inquiring for more info on the famous image. And, well, I received a response, and it turns out this wasn't the end of my little deep dive. This was merely the beginning. And while ZozaCloud was confirmed to be the original poster, the original post technically preceded the Reddit post by 2 whole years. This was one of the many bits of information ZozaCloud was kind enough to share with me, and it's with the kindness of both OP and his family that I'm able to share the following information with you here today. Hey there! So, first and foremost, do you remember when this image was taken? Perhaps on a holiday like Christmas?
Hi Alex. Mom and I can't quite remember what day this was taken. She thinks it was springtime based on her clothes, and she thinks it's 1989 based on her age. But we can tell this was my Bubba's house, just from the background. And my mom's family and my auntie and my cousins would gather there every other week for dinner.
So, was the Game Boy your first console? Did you own an NES, SNES, Genesis around the same time?
Yes, the Game Boy was our family's first console. After that, I was definitely hooked. Mom after got me a Super Nintendo. I even joined some local competition that was going on. And the competition was very interesting. I placed third playing Super Mario World and was against much older players, even adults. I wasn't very good, but I was persistent and I seemed to have discovered a trick on accident. Because the winners were based off of total points earned, and if you know the first level, you start off jumping up and kicking a shell into a row of Koopas, and you get a 1-up. Then I would soon after die, and I would just start the level over and repeat this over and over again. That repetition led to a really high score. And Mom says that a couple other kids clued in on what I was doing and started copying me. And because they completed the first level, they could just press Start Select immediately after killing the Koopas and start the level over. And since they were much faster than me, they eventually got a higher score.
So I actually know this level extraordinarily well. My first console was an SNES and my first game? Super Mario World. I remember being very young, like 4 or 5, and repeating this first level constantly to the point where I got really, really good at it. And of course, seeing how she's mentioned fairly recently in that Reddit comment that I found, I had to go ahead and ask, how is your mom doing currently?
Mom is doing great. She's a lifelong Canadian Federal Correctional Officer, CX4, so she's trained in self-defense with firearms and has some pretty amazing stories. She has 4 kids, myself, and 3 daughters, many grandkids. She enjoys spending time with her horses, Rain and Gina, and even rides them in Western pleasure competitions, and you can even see a video of her taking Rain through Tim Hortons. Her and my sister Jenna make amazing designer cakes. You just have to see them for yourself. And they also make amazing competition gingerbread houses. And these are just amazing. They have these incredible detailed characters, lights, and they're like giant castles. You have to see them. And they've won the competition they've entered every single time.
And you know, I absolutely had to get to the bottom of that gamer theory of mine.
Well, Mom in general enjoyed spending lots of time with her kids, and Nintendo happened to be one of those things. She was our best player for Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. Can usually get us to that plane level, which is just incredibly hard. She played Super Nintendo with me sometimes as well. And in her words, she says, I used to like to pretend that if you thought I lifted the controller higher, it would actually make your character jump higher. And I never believed her, but I always thought it was really funny. So she just kept doing it because it made me laugh. Yeah, that Super Nintendo competition was a few years later. And after talking with Mom, I might have been initially wrong about my age. I should be between 5 or maybe even 6 there. But I can remember it was lots of fun. I placed 3rd somehow and won a shirt that was way down past my ankles.
Later on, we got to talking about Zoza Cloud's mother herself and the impact she's had on her family as a whole.
Mom used to take us kids out all the time. She was a single mom of 4 and still managed to provide us with a really good home and life. She worked hard, but when she could, she'd take us out for campfires, hot dogs at the park, or we'd go off to the beach or maybe the water park. We always seemed to have something to do. Yeah, Mom thinks it's pretty cool that people love the photos so much. We all enjoyed all these positive comments that people are putting out there, and it's unfortunate that we have mostly stayed anonymous and uncredited, but she's very excited that she gets to share our story with you.
And so my interview concluded. However, it was at the end of this interview that I was met with a very pleasant surprise. For you see, it was at the end of this interview that I was able to hear from the Gameboy Mom herself. That's right, the very mom in this image. So, without any further ado, here it is, in her very own words, what this image and its impact online means to her personally.
Hi, my name is Deb, and to those that know me, I'm also called Mom, Deborah, Debbie, Auntie Deb, Grandma Deb, Officer Deb. boss, and sometimes by my husband, for Christ's sake, Deb. But apparently, to a bunch of people that I've never met, I'm also known as Gameboy Mom. I've been invited to clarify some public speculation about a photo that my son Scott posted about 11 years ago. Really been blown away, to say the least, to hear about the interest generated by this candid moment that happened to be captured by my sister just on a disposable camera at a normal family supper. A nice young lady took the time to do a lot of research and followed some internet breadcrumbs to end up finding my son's post on Reddit, where he had originally shared this photo. And we're hoping that she is able to satisfy some curiosity of people who have appreciated the photo and some of the nostalgia that it seems to evoke. So I'm going to say thank you very much for this opportunity to share our story behind this fleeting moment in our lives.
Mom is just such a gentle and kind soul. She's so intelligent and extremely talented. We're all really proud of who she is, and she inspires her children and grandchildren every day. The world is a better place with her here.
What I've learned from my time as a content creator is this. No matter how simple a post or image can be, a story that's truly fruitful and elaborate and wonderful can be behind it. It's truly amazing to me that a simple image of a mother playing video games with her family can just reflect the genuine love and dedication of the mother herself and the genuine love behind that image. In this image, I truly see a mother who strived to make her family happy and entertain them and bring joy in the simplest of ways. In the end, that love truly shows through without knowing anything of the backstory. That is what makes this image truly wonderful. I truly hope you leave this video today with knowledge that enriches your understanding of an image you've likely seen many times and will likely see many more times in the future. And I also hope you're well versed on the origin of this image. Really, I mainly wanted to give credit where credit is due here, and now you know where this image came from. Before I head out, I do want to share some very exciting announcements regarding this image itself and its future online. As I mentioned briefly a little earlier on in the video, I did come across that website that was selling illegal merch and profiting off of it based on that family photo. With all of this in mind, the idea of setting up an official, legal, and ethical merch shop for the photo came up, and I'm really happy to announce that that now exists. If anyone here is interested in these, check them out in the link in the description. 100% of the profits will be going to ZolzaCloud and his family. I personally simply just want to help them promote it. In addition, I would also like to share that ZolzaCloud and his family have expressed a lot of interest in getting together and recreating this photo with everyone who was in it. It's a bit of a tricky situation to coordinate as the family now all lives in different cities and leads their own lives. They're not all together in one place very often. With that said, I also want to share that ZolzaCloud has put together a GoFundMe to get everyone back together and recreate this photo. If you guys are interested in helping out with recreating this image, this guy will also be linked in the description. And last, but certainly not least, ZolzaCloud himself does have a TikTok where he posts music content. And of course, that will also be linked in the description. And with all of that said, I genuinely hope you enjoyed today's video and this little deep dive of mine. This is one topic I genuinely really enjoyed bringing forward to you guys today and sharing it with the world. And if you guys out there have any fond memories regarding video games, whether they're old or new, please share them in the description below. I would love to hear them. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now!